I'm going to assume that we're all here. Good afternoon, good evening, and thank you all again for coming and hearing kind of where we are in this case. Before I go over some facts, and I'll be somewhat informal about how I present these facts to you, I'm going to do it in concert with Detective Sergeant Mooney, who was the person who worked with his team so incredibly hard over the course of the last 24 hours to develop information and use that information in support of a search warrant. I know you have a lot of questions, and I know I may not be able to answer a lot of those questions, but we're going to do our best. But I want to make one thing absolutely clear. This press conference and every press conference hereafter is about one thing and one thing only, and that is finding Hannah. Everyone within the sound of my voice has that responsibility. If you live in the city of Charlottesville, if you attend the University of Virginia, if that young lady's touched your life in any way, you have the responsibility to help us find her. Now, Hannah Graham was on this mall last Friday night into Saturday morning. She walked from one end of the mall to the other end of the mall, and she walked past people. And now we have reason to believe she was inside of a bar on this mall with an individual who lived on Hessian Hills Way, whose home we visited this morning. Now, people saw her with that individual in that restaurant. Videotape that you've already seen, that Detective Sergeant Mooney will talk about, will depict signs of that individual, we believe. And so my point is this. People saw Hannah, and people saw him, and people saw them together. And it's entirely possible, we believe, that Hannah Graham may have gotten into his vehicle, a vehicle that we seized pursuant to a search warrant, a vehicle that is characterized as a 1998 Chrysler Coupe, burnt orange in color. I believe that vehicle was parked last Friday night into Saturday morning on 4th Street.
Somewhere in that area, too.
Somewhere in that area. Somewhere in the area of this mall, that car was parked. Somebody got out of it, and somebody got back in it. And somebody drove away. If you remember seeing that vehicle, and you remember seeing someone get back in it, and you remember seeing it drive away, we need to hear from you. Folks, we've had over 400 tips to find Hannah Graham. And it was from those, in large part, from many of those tips that got us to the point where we are now. The point that helped Detective Sergeant Mooney and a team of investigators put together some facts and circumstances in support of probable cause, sit down with the Commonwealth Attorney, present it to the magistrate, get authorization to go to take a car. And as I said to you this morning, while they were there executing that seizure for the purpose of taking that car and transporting it elsewhere to conduct a search, again, pursuant to that warrant, they established probable cause to obtain yet another warrant to enter that house. Now, the question, appropriately so, has come up, well, was anyone at that house when the police arrived? Yeah. There were 3 people. Was the individual who we believe was with Hannah Graham there? Yes, he was there. Is he in custody? No, he's not in custody. Was there probable cause to arrest him? No, there was no probable cause to arrest him. Was there a legally sufficient legal basis to detain him? Not in the opinion of the ranking supervisor on the scene. Not in the opinion of our Commonwealth Attorney. Not legally sufficient reason. So that person isn't in custody. But we know who he is. Others know who he is. And while I'm not releasing his name right now, this man has not been charged with the commission of a crime. I've described his car. We know that he lived in the house that we searched this morning. We know that many of you were there. My suspicion is others know his name. And so there will come a appropriate time when I'll release that information. But right now, the message is this. Today was productive. From an investigative standpoint, it was productive. The reason it was productive is it advanced the investigation. Has it got us to the point where we need to be? No. Can bright legal minds debate that? Probably. But when we arrest the person responsible for deconstructing the lives of Mr. and Mrs. Graham and this community, it's going to be a prosecution that's going to lead to a conviction. That's our goal. Not to put together a case that's just going to result in an arrest, but to make an arrest that will lead to a conviction. We have the legal and moral obligation to do that. On behalf of Hannah, on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Graham, on behalf of all of you. So I want to let Detective Sergeant Mooney, just for a minute, now be patient, because there's a lot of things that are going to be left out, and you're going to say, but what about this and what about that we're not going to be able to tell you. But I want you to get an understanding of how did you get from yesterday to today, and what happened along the way to get you there. Now, before I ask Jim to do that, I'm going to preempt a question by providing you with this information. I'm not at liberty to disclose any items that we may have taken from that car, any items that we may have taken from that residence, for lots of reasons. But the most practical right now is those items are still being evaluated for their relevance and their evidentiary value, if any. You probably can think of the kinds of things the police department would be looking for in a case like this. And you'd probably be right. But it's too premature for me to say, here's what we got and this is what it means to us. So understand, I cannot and will not share that information with you tonight. But I do want Jim to let you have an understanding that how we got from last night or yesterday to where we are now. Jim?
Sure. I'll talk briefly about the video evidence that you're already aware of. There have been numerous sightings of Hannah on the downtown mall, as well as the video evidence. We know that she was at the intersection of Market and 4th Street, that she traveled eastbound on the downtown mall. Video evidence puts her in the 200 and 300 blocks of Main Street, the downtown mall. One of the videos, and this came from tips, eyewitnesses that saw people in addition to observations of the video. You see in front of one of the restaurants in the 300 block, you see a black male wearing all white. He has long dreadlocks, walking westbound. Within a couple seconds, you see Hannah Graham walking eastbound. You can very clearly see this black male with dreadlocks cross to the other side of the mall, and then he travels eastbound behind her. An additional video captured at a store on the mall in the 300 block shows that same black male with dreadlocks with his hands around Hannah Graham's waist. We know from witness accounts that they entered a, let me say the bar?
Tempo.
Yeah, entered the Tempo restaurant, which is just off of, on 5th Street, just off of the main part of the mall. We know that he purchased alcohol there, and we know that Hannah Graham was with him. We also know that within 15 minutes, they were gone from that bar, and that his car was seen leaving the area on video. And we have every reason to believe that Miss Graham was in that vehicle.
If you have a question that Jim can answer, he'll certainly do that at the appropriate time. I just want to add, just to kind of underscore, emphasize, highlight the reason we're saying the Tempo restaurant. Because I want people who were on the downtown mall last night or last Friday rather, at 1 o'clock in the morning, between 1 and 2, to think about the Tempo restaurant, to think about the garage, to think about 4th Street, to think about that section of the mall, and replay in their mind, did I see someone that is a black male, 32 years of age, 6'2", 270 pounds, with dreadlocks, with Hannah Graham? Did you see that? And if you did, what did you see? They weren't the only two people on the pedestrian mall last Friday night's my point. We need your help. We need people's help to find this young lady. Jim and I sat with Mr. and Mrs. Graham this afternoon about an hour and a half ago. They want their daughter back. They want to know what happened to their little girl. That's all. And that's what I want. And that's what you want. So we got to do this together. When we leave here tonight, we're going to go meet with my guess is going to be a large number of volunteers that are going to want to help. And thank God for the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. Thank God for our fire department and the Albemarle Sheriff's Department and all the people that have helped coordinate searches, because all day tomorrow they're going to be looking. And as I said last time we were together, and I'll repeat now, we need you to look too. If you live east of here, to the county line, be looking. If you live west of here to Hessian Hills, be looking. If you own a business or a residence east of here to the county line, straight on down Market Street, and you got a video camera in your house, or it's a business and you got a video camera in your business, if you haven't talked to us, please talk to us. If you live or own a business west of here to Hessian Hills, up Main Street, up Preston, up Barracks Road, clear into the county, and we haven't talked to you, please call us. We need your help. I'll take any questions you might have. Person I'm looking for, there's I'm going to answer your question specifically about it. I just want to reiterate and underscore and highlight. The person we're looking for is a black male that's 32 years of age, who's 6 foot 2 inches tall, 270 pounds, and has dreadlocks. Now, as Jim just said to me, and you know, 10 people can look at a video and walk away with 10 different impressions. Now, I've told you earlier that we looked at a video and it looked like a reflection, when in fact, when we go back and look and we critically evaluate it, as a lot of you did, no, that's somebody. And now we look at it and we see that it's this person whose description we've articulated. We can't account for a gap, so we don't know that there may not have been more than one contact. What we know now, because of eyewitness testimony or eyewitness evidence or information, is that she was in that business with this person. That she walked in this business with this person, she walked out of that business with this person.
And that was after the jewelry store videotape at 1:08 a.m.
That's right. That's
And
exactly
what time did the bars close here?
It varies. Some of the restaurants close earlier, but 2 o'clock is.
I'm sorry, Jim. I'm sorry.
It
Thank
varies, but generally 2 o'clock is about the latest. Some of the restaurants close earlier, some are later.
So do you then think that she sent that last text at 1:20 to her friends? Are you suggesting that it's from inside a car? Is that what you believe at this point? That she perhaps was getting a ride to that party when she sent that text?
That has not been clearly established yet.
Can you guys describe your interactions with this man right now? If he's being cooperative, you guys are keeping an eye on him so he doesn't leave the area?
We know who he is, and we are aware of where he is, yes, and we're keeping an eye. I would say to that, Henry, that this male, if anybody have seen him since that night in the last 6 days, we would be interested in that information. I would encourage you to come forward through the tip line.
What about the subsequent reports of rapes in the area? Why did we not know about those sooner?
Every morning at between 5:57, 6 o'clock, 6:02, the media gets a report that looks like this. Those incidents are on that report.
Was UVA notified though?
I don't know if UVA was notified or not. They get a copy of this report as well. Look, let me make something clear, and I do so respectfully. We can have this conversation at another press conference. This conversation is about Hannah Graham. That's what this is about.
It's been reported
Don't have any reason to believe that. The issue, and I'll say this, and then I'd like to stay on point if I can. The issue that the university and I will continue to always work towards, and I really think we've done a better job of it over the years, but we will always work towards communication. So we not only fulfill our obligation to the community to make sure that things are properly disseminated, and maybe not just to a 6 o'clock in the morning media group, but to also make sure that the university fulfills its legal obligation under the Clery Act. Okay, yes, sir.
Any relationship that you know that this person of interest had with Miss Graham? And also, are you going to get us? Can we see the video? The other videos that you're working with?
I'll answer the first question. I'll yield to Jim because I don't know that I've seen any. The other thing too is I don't know if we've recovered any additional video that we haven't even reviewed yet.
That's exactly right. We've recovered additional video today. It's still being analyzed, and I cannot say that Miss Graham is on that video. In fact, I can say right now that the last video where we see Miss Graham is in front of that store in the 300 block of East Main Street on the mall. There is no other video evidence that shows her after she leaves this mall that night.
I'm talking though specifically with this person of interest. You have other videos that haven't been released yet.
I may. We collected a number of videos today, and they need to be analyzed, and if we do, we will certainly release those.
My other important question, relationship between this man, this person of interest.
I'm not aware of any relationship. I do not believe so, no sir. I have no reason to believe that.
I know you say you can't talk about exact evidence or specific evidence. Is there anything you found that can shed light to this community whether you believe Hannah is alive or dead?
No, unfortunately, no. I don't know that anything that I've been made aware of up to this point. And I want to, as I said to lots of folks before, I get briefed on these cases every couple hours. Things happen within 45 minutes of me walking up to this podium that I may not be aware of. So I will cautiously say, nothing's been brought to my attention that would help me answer that question either way.
Chief, when you talk to her parents still have hope? Is the thought that we're going to try to bring Hannah home alive, or is this a situation where things, as you said a couple of days ago, every hour that goes by, things get worse?
I will always be hopeful until we find Hannah. And I can't speak for her mom and dad, but I can tell you in every human interaction I've had with them over the past couple days, they're hurt, they're concerned, they're frustrated, but not for 1 second have I ever discerned that they've lost hope in finding their daughter.
How many officers did you have on the mall at 1 a.m. when Hannah was here, and was that an adequate force?
Yeah, I don't know the number that were deployed at that particular time. I've been saying for many years, and others have said, we need to increase our presence not only on the downtown pedestrian mall, but across the table of organization, and we're working hard to accomplish that.
One day in the water, are they at all a direct result of anything found in the car or the apartment, or are they just doing a cross off?
I missed the first part of the question.
Searches today that have taken place in the water, are those any direct result of things found in the car or the apartment?
I haven't spoken to Mark, who's coordinating the searches for VDEM, nor have I spoken to Detective Sergeant Harris about the search patterns, other than we're searching places that are logically associated with the path that our investigation's taken us. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to ask you, so to clarify, you're talking about the original video of the South Pizza and Two Jewelers, because I think there's some confusion here. Those videos, when you reevaluated them, that led you to everything that happened last night.
It's the reanalysis of the video, and it's the witness accounts. A number of people pointed out a black male with dreadlocks that seemed to turn around when Hannah walked eastbound. Yes.
Do you believe that she went willingly into the car, willingly with this 32-year-old?
I can't answer that. I have no information one way or the other. I won't discuss his criminal history. He has had police contact. Yes, sir.
Just so we're clear, when you entered the apartment today, there was a 32-year-old man, 6'2", 270 pounds, black male with dreadlocks in that apartment.
The person who was with Hannah Graham in that Tempo restaurant, the person who left in that car was there at that apartment. Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the search tomorrow, the resources where it's going to be?
You know, I can't because Mark's coordinating that. You know, if there's some way we can do that before the night's out, we can get you some information. Part of what's going to happen at 7 tonight is one to do what I think is really important, and that is to make sure that we ensure that the volunteers understand the mission and the importance of the mission, and then walk them through the practicalities of fulfilling that mission. And that's going to be largely VDEM's role in this case, and so they would be better suited than I. But you know, you can imagine we're gonna re-canvas, reevaluate, research, reacquaint ourselves with the areas that I've described. Due east of here to the county line, straight down Market Street corridor, west of here, clear up through the Barracks Road corridor. Those are going to be the areas where we're going to focus.
Chief, I may
a couple
have
more
missed it, but are you
questions. I'm
calling
sorry.
This dreadlock person a person of interest or a suspect? And were there anything distinguishing off the video that you saw, negative movements that made this person a suspect?
Well, I'm not calling him a suspect. And although we've used this term person of interest, I've never been quite fond of the term. So let me just say, we're interested in him. We're interested in talking to him. We're interested in learning more about his interactions with Hannah. But to label this person in any way, shape, or form, I don't know that that's appropriate. Although we'll admit we've done that in the past.
What was your reaction when you went to the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Did any of the witnesses who saw Hannah and this man at Tempo or on the mall say anything about her appearance? Did she appear distressed or you know, comfortable with him or uneasy or anything of concern?
I won't comment on what they've said about her appearance, but I'm interested in hearing from more people that saw her put that together. We've had different accounts of her behavior. You've seen the videos. She seems to be walking with a purpose.
What was this man's reaction when you guys knocked on his door bright and early this morning and he sees what I have to imagine to be a storm of officers out front?
I would say that I spoke with him and I want to speak to him.
And his reaction, the look on his face?
I'm not going to go into that.
Okay, I'm going to take one more question. Courtney, you had your hand up.
I was going to ask him the same way. Has he cooperated? Is he agreeing to being questioned?
All I'll say to that is that I spoke with him early this morning and I want to speak to him again.
Did he deny
And I want to
seeing
speak to
Hannah?
anybody that has seen him since Saturday morning on this downtown mall.
Did he deny seeing her?
I'm not going to go into what he said.
Do you have any reason to believe he is not still here tonight?
I have no reason to believe that.
Let me thank all of you for your continued interest on behalf of the Grahams, on behalf of Hannah, of course, on behalf of the university community, on behalf of our citizens. Again, as I said many, many times, we really need your help. We, again, appreciate you being here, and I hope you have a safe night.